Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome to the morning devotion time with me, Bo Willette. Super stoked to be here. April 22nd, that's why I was looking over, just making sure I got the date right. But April 22nd is today. I've been doing these devotions since the whole COVID thing went down, and just kept going, kept doing them, right? Kept airing my devotion times. But I'm going to be in Isaiah chapter 20 and 21 today, and it's a beautiful day. It'll be probably around 92 today. Not sure what's going on in the world because I haven't looked it up yet. But I'll probably stay tuned, of course, to A Reason for Hope. That always airs on YouTube at A Reason for Hope at 4 o'clock, Monday through Friday. I always check that out because they do a great job. Of course, they're friends, and they do a good job of just giving us the news of what's happening in the world, how it relates to the Bible. So, hey, hope you're doing good today. And man, let's rock this. We're going to be in Isaiah 20. Pretty stoked to get into it. I always do my devotions in the New Living Translation nowadays. I just find it super cool. Just love the breakdown of the word with that translation. So that's kind of how we do. I am a Southern California boy and grew up out there, and Valley kid. And then moved into Simi Valley, and so Valley, moved from valley to valley, back to valley, and then over here into the desert years ago. So a lot of SoCal still in me, and you guys probably know that by now for sure. So anyway, let's get into this, okay? And for those joining me, welcome, man. Glad you're with me. So, chapter 20 of Isaiah. We still get this idea that Isaiah is giving a revelation of God, not only judgments on Israel and Jerusalem and Judea, but to also the surrounding areas. And then it kind of launches into the world as well. So, interesting. It says, in the year when King Sargon of Assyria sent his commander-in-chief to capture the Philistine city of Ashdod, the Lord told Isaiah, son of Amos. Now, I just want to take a break and just remember that what I'm reading is history. This isn't make-up. The Bible isn't make-up. I used to think it was a made-up thing. I remember, just being that SoCal kid, where you just hear stuff, right? And because I was raised so progressive and so secular progressive, that all you do is you just hear stuff in your world. Us progressives have pastors and elders and evangelists and, all that as well. We have our versions of that. So just as the church has those positions, so the secular progressive world has that as well. We find a lot of our churches, we call them universities, right? And then there we have our pastors and our priests and our evangelists all going at it with us. And that's what we hear. That's what we hear growing up, right? And then one of the things we hear is that the Bible is not history, that it's just a fairy tale. Oh man, sometimes when I hear that now, I cringe, And I remember I was playing hockey, and a guy after the game was in the parking lot with me, and we were talking a little bit about the Bible, and he said, well, I went to college and I realized it was just a myth. And I just cringed, man. He said that, and I just went, no, bro. Like, have you read the Bible? Listen to this. In the year when King Sargon of Assyria sent his commander-in-chief to capture the Philistine city of Ashdod, we got people, we got places, right, going on. It's like you can look those places up, man. This isn't some fairy tale of, once upon a time in the land of Dune, But, that's how we get taught a lot. Just a reminder this morning, I'm dealing with a God who is revealed in history. And that's what I'm contending with. If I'm going to contend with God today, and I'm going to fight God, then I'm going to have to fight all of history as well. Why there's a place called Israel, why it's the way it is, why the world is the way it is, why so many things, right? Why we have natural law, why we have laws of logic, well, why things are the way they are, how they got this way. I'm going to have to battle with this God of history who's enters into the world, creates the world, of course, and creates the laws and is the lawgiver. So I don't want to do that today. I want to say just, okay, you are the creator, I am not. I got that squared away. So take off your burlap you have been wearing and remove your sandals. Isaiah did as he was told and walked around naked and barefoot. Okay, so Isaiah walked around a little bit in the not much clothing, if any, right? And it says, then the Lord said, my servant Isaiah has been walking around naked and barefoot for the last 3 years. This is a sign, a symbol of a terrible troubles I will bring upon Egypt and Ethiopia. For the king of Assyria will take away the Egyptians and Ethiopians as prisoners. He will take them, walk naked and barefoot, both young and old, their buttocks bared to the shame of Egypt. So it makes me think Isaiah was really nude. His buttocks. Okay? Man, when you looked at Isaiah, Ezekiel, these different prophets were told to do certain things that would raise an eyebrow. And it would make people go, man, what is it that, why are you doing that? Now, this happens all the time in our life. This happened all the time at Venice Beach when I was hanging out growing up, right? A lot of crazy things going on at Venice Beach. You always wonder, like, why are you doing what you're doing? I mean, you want to ask everybody that. Why are you wearing what you're wearing? Why, you look kind of odd, because there's just so much weird and oddity going on at Venice Beach, right? Well, this is how the prophets were. They had this revelation, this message to the people. It's kind of like this, let your light so shine, right? You've heard that before. Jesus says, so let your light so shine. So that people see it, right? Don't hide it. Don't put it under a bushel basket, right? No, let your light shine, man. Let the love of Christ in you shine. Well, Isaiah was letting the revelation of God shine, and it was in this way of actually showing everybody how they were going to be judged. This is how you're going to be judged, man. You're going to be sent to another land naked, destitute. And it says, then the Philistines will be thrown into panic, for they counted on the power of Ethiopia and boasted in their allies in Egypt. They will say, if this can happen to Egypt, what chance do we have? We are counting on Egypt to protect us from the king of Assyria. Hey, what's gonna be your protector? Who's gonna be your protector in the day of trial? What a great thing to think about. What is my protector? Who is my protector? Did my progressive professors, did the college, pastors and evangelists, do they really have the power, to help me in my time of trial? Is that what you're relying on? Are you relying on your body to give you the power to last? It ain't gonna happen, man. You can work out all you want. You can eat right. You flip through your reels on Instagram and there's always the, this power, this fat burner, this, that, all this thing. Yeah, it's just a matter of time before all that is seen as a sham. It doesn't have its power. It doesn't have the power. It's not going to help you as we get older and fall apart. Where are we going to go for counseling? Where are we going to go for help? Where are we going to go for resurrection, man? Where are we going to go for real power? Because there comes a time in everyone's life where you realize that, guess what? It just ain't going to last. It's not going to last no matter how hard you try, right? And you hope. You got hope, right? And that hope is not just anchored in some mystical Darth Vader story from far, far and away, but it's rooted in a moment in history, historical fact, right? that there's evidence to back up your hope in eternal life, right? And that's the most powerful, because nothing conquers death. So it's got to be the most powerful of all things if it can raise the dead. So that's chapter 20. Chapter 20 is the naked chapter, right? It is the chapter where good old Isaiah is in the buck, right? Doing his thing. 3 whole years going in the nudie, right? And just saying to people, you know what? You're going to be judged. You're looking to these people. It ain't going to help. And that's what's going to happen. Okay, so chapter 21. So 20 is about, hey, who am I trusting ultimately? Jesus says he's the way, the truth, and the life. And he says trust him no matter what, right? You know, sometimes, our pastor was talking about times in his life where he saw the faithfulness of God in times of real bankruptcy, spiritual, emotional bankruptcy, times of desperation. And he saw how God was faithful. But not every story is a success like that, right? There's so many stories that, man, someone did die and that person didn't live and that cancer killed them. Both my parents being those. But there's other ways that God was faithful, even in the midst of that. And so sometimes it's just having the eyes to see the faithfulness of God and how God is faithful and how he's working even in that situation. Even if it doesn't come out good on the other side, good as we would want it to be, And so, it's aligning with God just in everything, trusting in God in everything. Not trusting in Ethiopia, not trusting in Egypt and all the powerhouses, right? So chapter 21, this message came to me concerning Babylon, the desert by the sea. Disaster is roaring down on you from the desert, like a whirlwind sweeping from the Negev. So another judgment on the area of Babylon. By the way, Babylon was just in the news the other day, right? There was a bomb that went down in some military area in Babylon. I see a terrified vision. I see a betrayer betraying, the destroyer destroying. Go ahead, you Elamites and Medes. Attack and lay siege. I will make an end to all the groaning Babylon caused. My stomach aches and burns with pain. Sharp pangs of anguish are upon me, like those of a woman in labor. I grow faint, and I hear what God is planning. You see this over and over now, where judgments and the pain that's involved in the judgment is being symbolized by a woman giving birth. And this is something that just seems to continue. Read Luke 21, Matthew 24 for a reference there of Jesus' teaching like this. So I am too afraid to look. My mind reels and my heart races. I longed for evening to come, but now I am terrified of the dark. Look, they are preparing a great feast. They are spreading rugs for people to sit on. Everyone is eating and drinking. Be quick, grab your shields and prepare for battle. You are being attacked. Sounds like a quick attack. Meanwhile, the Lord said to me, put a watchman on the city wall. Let him shout out what he sees. He should look for chariots drawn by pairs of horses, for the riders on donkeys and camels. Let the watchman be fully alert. So judgment's going to happen. We need to be alert. I think of just being alert today. Is my mind alert to the work of God, to the things of God, to what's going on in my world? Just being kind of aware of that. Not putting my head into the sand. I did that for many years. And so many people do through drugs and alcohol and just different ways they live, right? It's a lot of times we're trying to bury really the reality of it. And here Isaiah's given out the reality is that something's going to happen. And you ain't going to like this. It's going to be a serious judgment, but it's going to happen. And this is how it's going to go down. You guys are going to be eating like nonchalant, and all of a sudden, boom, it's going to happen. And it says, the watchman called out day after day, I have stood on the watchtower, my lord. Night after night I have remained at my post. Now at last, look, here comes a man in a chariot with a pair of horses. Then a watchman said, Babylon is fallen, fallen. All the idols of Babylon lie broken on the ground. O my people, threshed and winnowed, I have told you everything the Lord of heaven armies has said, everything the God of Israel has told me. Okay, so one day Babylon will be taken, and it'll be taken very quickly. People will be unprepared for this attack from the Medes and the Persian people. Did this happen in history? Yes. The Bible is reported history, even talks about history that's not yet going to happen. This is an issue for us progressives, man, us secular folk, because it's hard for us to defend or to, in a sense, argue with the Bible's record on prophecy. We might maybe throw in some cool things like, hey, that was written actually after the fact, or, and try to find some kind of facts that maybe back that up. Some article that was written, something we can throw the Christians' way to throw them off a little bit. But when you just actually read the Bible, there is so much written about future events that it's almost becomes laughable when you start thinking about my arguments against the Bible, right? Because there's so many prophecies that are spoken. So many. Again, on page 3 of the Bible, right? The offspring of the woman, the seed of the woman will crush Satan's head, though the serpent will bruise the child's heel. I mean, that's on page 3, but it just goes and goes and goes and goes. And there's just more future telling of what's going to happen in the future, what's going to happen in the future, what's going to happen in the future. It just keeps going and going and going. And it becomes hard to argue every single prophecy. There is so many, right? And so here's another one, and that you got to deal with. Babylon's going to be destroyed quickly. So the message about Edom. This message came from me concerning Edom. Someone from Edom keeps calling to me, Watchman, how much longer until morning? When will the night be over? The watchman replies, morning is coming, but night will soon return. If you wish to ask again, then come back and ask. Okay, so this message about Edom, right? Calling for the watchman, the person who's up on the pole, right, in that watchtower, waiting for the enemy to come, waiting for the war to start. And there's this anticipation. Hey, is it going to happen? Hey, is the night over? The watchman replies, right? It's like, it's going to, there's such a nervousness and anticipation about that. And that's so true in people's lives. I think there's in a sense, an anticipation in everybody's life of their dying. And there can be a real nervousness and a real anxiety to that. That kind of idea of just constantly like, is it going to happen now? When's it going to happen? Some people are nervous about the end of times. People that have some kind of biblical literacy think that way, like, oh my gosh, is it going to happen now? Is it going to happen in my day? I don't know if I want it to. And they get nervous. It's like that watchman, right? Hey, are they coming? Kind of thing. Now, Jesus told us to watch. He told his disciples to watch and be ready, right? For we do not know the hour. And so, we are to be that kind of, in a sense, watchman, that person on the wall, preparing and actually warning people too, that, hey, guess what? This world is going to see some serious stuff go down. And so maybe I can learn to be a better watchman today. Maybe I can even maybe warn people as a watchman should, And so, so the message about Arabia. This message came to me concerning Arabia. Think of Saudi Arabia. Okay. O caravans from Dedan, hide in the deserts of Arabia, O people from Tema. Bring water to the thirsty people, food to the weary refugees, for they have fled from the sword, from the drawn sword, from the bent bow, and from terrors of battle. The Lord said to me, within a year, counting each day, all the glory of Kedar will come to an end. Only a few of its courageous archers will survive. I, the Lord, the God of heaven, have spoken. Okay, so that's the end of our devotional chapter or sections, verses. And so the last one was about a message to Arabia that, hey, count down, man, within a year. I mean, and don't you just love the specifics? It's just like, hey, this isn't just some prophecy, but count it down. It's going to happen within the year. Count this one down. It's going to be in 3 years. Count this down. It's going to be... Remember, this all goes on until you get to the prophet Daniel in the Bible, where Daniel actually gives a countdown to when Jesus, the Messiah, right? His name would be Jesus. Zechariah says his name would be Joshua. And the person named Jesus would come on the scene, and he actually gives a 483-year breakdown of how this is going to go. I mean, it's 490 in completion, but up to the time of Christ, we see a 483-year period. But anyway, I throw that out to you just to let you know that, again, the Bible is not just historical in the sense it's time, places, people, all that, but it's prophetic, and its prophecies are honed in to the day. They're honed in. And so maybe today I could just kind of rejoice and have a lot of confidence. And and it's funny, I used to talk to a lot of Christians just growing up, and I always felt that they were a little unconfident, like they almost wanted to come over to my side of the fence. I almost felt like like they wanted to come to the party, or they wanted to go to the club, or they wanted to hang out. They thought my life was better than their life. They thought somehow I had kind of the inroad, things were cooler over where I was, and they didn't realize that I was like, I don't know, like if it's better where I'm at, then yikes, right? Like I was looking at their life going, maybe they got things much more together. They got a mom and a dad, and they dig each other, and maybe that's where it's at, and that kind of thing. So, but I noticed that they were not confident too, just in the scriptures, and prophecy gives you great confidence, man. It helps you to be able to say, hey, man, you got an issue with the Bible, well, then you just have to deal with this, man. I mean, read it and deal with it. Why does the Bible talk about crucifixion 1,000 years before Jesus was crucified? But there's so many examples. Like I said, there's not just one example. If you answer one of my if you try to answer one of my questions, then there's many more, because the Bible is filled with prophecies. And that should just give you a lot of confidence to point people that, to tell them, like, you're reading a book that is historical. It's not just historical, but it's talking about future events. And the only way you can do that is if you know the future event. You have to be outside of time, space, matter. And then you can, come into time and reveal the future. But, but someone on this planet, we don't know. Us human beings, we're limited. We just don't know exactly what's going to happen. We can't count down the days. We can make some educated guesses on things, but that's not what this is. This is specific stuff. And it's very future stuff, right? It talks about the world and the end of the world and all kinds of things. So hopefully that builds you up in confidence when you're sharing your faith with people, or just in your own day-to-day life. So if you're wondering, man, what's going on in my life? Is there really a God? Those kind of things. You can always go back to prophecy as one of the answers. You can always go back to the place of Israel. How did Israel come to be? You can always go back to these areas to answer that age-old question, is there a God? Is there a God? Look on a map. Look for Israel. And then you got to figure out how that country came to be, right? And you can go to college and get all the secular stuff we do, or you can just pick up the Bible and read it. It's a history book of the people of Israel, right? So interesting, for sure. And hopefully that builds up your confidence. No matter what you're going through, you have a God who lives outside of time, space, and matter, who knows your end, knew your beginning, and seems to have us in his hands. Does that sound familiar? Yeah. He's got us in his hands. So you guys have a great day. Take care. Let's have a great week, okay? Bye-bye.